Well, the battle for the White House is in overdrive as Americans prepare for Election Day in less than 48 hours. As the candidates make their final pitches, Kamala Harris attended church in Michigan.
What kind of country do we want to live in? What kind of country do we want for our children and our grandchildren? A country of chaos, fear, and hate, or a country of freedom, justice, and compassion?
While Donald Trump has ramped up claims the election is rigged against him, again claiming he won in 2020.
I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly, it's all corrupt. She's corrupt. She's a corrupt person. I'm running against a totally corrupt person.
And our man Waleed is on the ground in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. Waleed, why is Trump amping up these cheating claims now?
This is just now a standard play in the Trump playbook. It's either preparing the ground for a loss or claiming his victory was even bigger if it's a win. It's such a key plank, really, of Donald Trump's discourse. And amongst, I wouldn't say actually all of his voters, but a certain cohort of them, it's become such an article of faith that it's just a way really of rallying everyone around the same pole, the same sort of discourse. I don't think it necessarily means he thinks he's about to lose or anything like that. It's just what he does, unfortunately. It's incredible, but true in a democracy.
Waleed, we're hearing so much about these distinct divides, some of them racial divides, but also gender divides. I'm kind of curious about, beyond the numbers, where you are now, whether it's in Pennsylvania or where you've been reporting from over the last week or so. Is it as obvious, is it as clear to you there on the streets?
Actually, it kind of is, because you find whenever you speak to women, there is a very strong reason for their vote to go the way that it's going. It's really clear. We saw, for example, a poll come out today that had Kamala Harris in front in Iowa, which is a huge, that would be a huge result because Iowa's meant to go completely red. The fact that you even get a poll result like that is based overwhelmingly on the gendered side of it. So young women, older women, particularly who were around when Roe v. Wade was decided. You mentioned that we were in Georgia. One of the most interesting aspects of it is that this gender divide is spilling over into the black vote. And that is a vote that has been bankable for the Democrats for 60 years. And if black men are starting to move, that could profoundly shape the race in certain key states, including in Georgia. So we spoke to a few people about it, and here it is.
Across America, political organisers are doing whatever it takes to get people to polling booths.
Make sure y'all go vote, man. Do all that.
In battleground states, Kamala Harris is relying on urban black voters to balance those from Republicans outside the inner cities.
Black women and black men are the backbone of the Democratic Party. There is no victory without us.
Donald Trump went so far as to thank black voters for their low turnout in 2016, delivering him the White House.
They didn't come out to vote for Hillary. They didn't come out. And that was the big. So thank you to the African American community.
Joe Biden won in 2020 with 90% of the black vote. Donald Trump managed just 9%. But current polls show support for Kamala Harris at around 78%, with Donald Trump jumping to 15%. And in a state like Georgia, where a third of voters are black, and which was decided in 2020 by fewer than 12,000 votes, the black vote is critical.
I'm here at Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Martin Luther King Jr. preached against racial segregation and where they held his funeral just a few years after the Civil Rights Act was signed into law. That was by a Democratic president, and Black America has voted heavily Democrat ever since. So it seems remarkable that they might be starting to move Republican when the nominee is Donald Trump.
I love President Trump.
Republican Vivian Childs says she wants more Georgians to look beyond race when casting their votes.
I'm an American. You know, this, my face, my color, my shade, whatever, when I look in the mirror, I'm a proud black woman, proud. But outside of that, I look at the heart. So I don't judge you by who you are. I judge you by your character, by your integrity.
So you talk about character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one of the reasons, or that's one of the grounds on which Donald Trump has actually been criticised a lot, right?
If his wife is okay with it, I'm good with it. I'm concerned with my leader being able to go into a room and negotiate properly for the well-being of the citizens. I'm well aware that, you know, everybody have character flaws.
While more than 80% of black women support Harris, For men, that drops to around 70%, with polls this year routinely showing around 1 in 4 black men under 50 support Trump.
Black men are actually a lot more conservative than they've ever been given credit for.
Azad Ahmadi is a military veteran who was raised a Democrat.
I voted for Barack Obama twice. I voted for Barack Obama the first time because he was a black man, if I'm just being honest. And then I voted for Barack Obama a second time, much for the same reason.
Let's talk about the gender gap, because there seems to be a really big difference in how black women are voting compared to how black men are voting. Why do you think that is?
Feminism has contributed to black women valuing their independence over family and community. And that's a harsh reality and an uncomfortable truth, but that's one that black men are very aware of. And so with that said, the left has done a great job because feminism resides on their side of the house. They've done a great job of marketing programs to black women.
This whole thing about masculinity and feminism, I just think is another way for Republicans to try to separate men and women. In the end, we all should be concerned about women's health.
My numbers with the black, and especially black men, I love black men. I love them. I love them. I have gone through the roof with black men.
The black men who are going to vote for Donald Trump, who are they?
I would categorize them in sort of like 3 buckets. The first bucket is the masculine black male who identifies with Donald Trump because he's clear, he's transparent, and they identify with that behavior. The masculine heterosexual male, okay? The second want to know what your policies are going to do for me, right? Or how I can leverage them, I should say. And they've looked at both sides of the aisle as a result of Democrats dropping the ball. And then the third group, I think, is the very quiet group that no one ever talks about. The Democrat Party and the left has thrown them away. And the fact that the messaging is actually attacking them, or they feel as though it's attacking them, has separated them from the Democrat platform.
And the Democrats are hoping it's Donald Trump's track record on race that will draw black men back from the Republicans. We've seen from the very beginning white supremacists, avowed white supremacists being drawn to Donald Trump. Is that something that worries you?
No.
Why not?
What's more impactful to me is the policies and the programs that I can leverage to grow my wealth and raise my household without government's intervention. Discussions around the Proud Boys or whomever else, right? Discussions around that separate black Americans from beneficial programs and policies, and that's the reason why black Americans haven't moved the socioeconomic metrics that every group of people in this country is measured by. They haven't moved any of them year over year for 60 years.
So how do you feel when someone like Donald Trump has the support of avowed, self-declared white nationalists?
I love that question. I cannot tell who to like me and who not to like me. People seem to tend to gravitate to what they think is them.
Yeah.
And so that's what they may think.
He said that black people would actually like him more because he got arrested and there was a mugshot, and so they could relate to that. Like a lot of these sorts of comments that people have seen as really quite deeply racist. Do you have a problem with those sorts of things?
I know what racism is. I know what it looks like. Misspeaking sometimes, people do that. I am not, and some of the things that they say are racist, I asked them to explain it to me and they can't do that. So I do not call him a racist. Otherwise, I would not be sitting here talking to you about my support for him.
While many African Americans feel politicians have taken them for granted, with less than 48 hours until polls close, both parties know the only path to the White House is with black voters.
When you look at the data, and I know that you all are from Australia, when you look at the data, black people have never let the election down. We're not the problem, but we are the solution.
Waleed, given what you've seen of the country, how worried should the Democrats be about the black vote?
I think they do need to be worried because it's been such a bedrock of the Democrat Party. They can't drop below a certain level with turnout and with the results. So Barack Obama wins 2 elections because the black vote comes out in massive numbers. They don't come out for Hillary Clinton, they do come out for Joe Biden. If they don't come out for Kamala Harris, or if they do, but enough men vote their gender rather than their race, if you want to put it in those sort of crude terms, they're in trouble. It's all about those swing states, and if that slips, they're in a lot of trouble.
And how worried should we be about that shirt you're wearing? Are you trying something new? What's happening?
Well, I think you should be worried, Sam, because you famously have a lot of shirt trouble. And I know this because I sit next to you, and the number of times you sit down and you're like, this is a terrible shirt, why am I wearing this? And then, do we need to tell them about all the times that people had to come in and change your shirts?
No, let's
Actually,
not bring
can we
that
do
up,
this?
mate.
This is a totally separate segment, but I think it's the segment Australia needs.
Thanks, Waleed.
We've got to go because someone's coming on to change Sam's shirt.
True.
Hey, Waleed, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Dean.